Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. I am Dr. Isma, and we shall be continuing the regulation of potassium ions, part 3. Previously, I was telling you about the main factors which control the potassium secretion by the principal cells, and they were the activity of the sodium potassium ATPase pump and the permeability of the luminal membrane of the principal cells of the distal collecting tubules and the cortical collecting tubules to potassium, and the electrochemical gradient for potassium. I also mentioned about the intercalated cells, that these have the ability in case of potassium depletion to reabsorb potassium and secrete hydrogen ions. But I think I did not tell that there are two kinds of intercalated cells present in the late distal tubules and the cortical collecting tubules, and they are basically two types of intercalated cells, type A or alpha intercalated cells and type B or beta intercalated cells. So the alpha intercalated cells are the ones which secrete acid, and these have the ability to reabsorb potassium in case of potassium depletion, while the beta intercalated cells are the cells that have the ability to secrete base, and they have the ability because of the presence of a pendrin protein or a bicarbonate chloride exchanger which is present on the luminal side. So continuing with the regulation of the potassium ions, we shall move on to do the factors which regulate the potassium secretion by the principal cells. So there are mainly three factors that regulate the potassium secretion by the principal cells, and number one, it is the raised extracellular fluid potassium ion concentration, and number two, it is the raised level of aldosterone, and number three, it is the increase in the distal tubular flow rate. Increased extracellular fluid potassium concentration stimulates potassium secretion. Whenever there is a raised ECF potassium ion concentration, the potassium secretion and hence the excretion of potassium will increase, and it does this by basically three main causes. Number one, it is that it increases the activity of the sodium potassium ATPase pump which is present in the principal cells. Once the activity of the sodium potassium ATPase pump is increased, it will move sodium out of the cell and potassium into the cell from the interstitium, and raising the concentration of potassium ions inside the cell, and which obviously increases, number two, the gradient of the potassium movement from the renal interstitium to the inside of the cell, and by doing this it prevents the back leak of the potassium across the basolateral membrane. And number three, whenever raised ECF potassium concentration occurs, it also increases the aldosterone secretion, which in itself has an effect to increase the sodium potassium ATPase activity, and also in additional to this factor, it also increases the permeability of the luminal membrane to potassium ions, thereby increasing the potassium secretion. I have already talked about the fact that aldosterone stimulates potassium secretion by increasing the activity of the sodium potassium ATPase pump on the basolateral membrane, and number two, by increasing the permeability of the luminal membrane for potassium, which further increases the effectiveness of aldosterone in stimulating potassium secretion, and hence excretion out of the cells. Increased extracellular potassium ion concentration stimulates aldosterone secretion. Even small changes in the ECF potassium concentration can cause large changes in the aldosterone secretion. When the ECF potassium changes by about 3 milliequivalents per liter, the rate of aldosterone secretion increases to about 10 times normal, that is from 0 to as high as 60 nanograms per 100 milliliter, and this results in the excretion of extra potassium and returns the ECF potassium back towards normal. You can see over here that potassium has a direct effect on the late distal and cortical collecting tubules to increase the potassium secretion. Also an indirect effect through the increase in the aldosterone secretion. So increased potassium ion, what it does is it directly increases the potassium secretion by the cortical collecting tubules, and indirectly also through aldosterone increases the potassium secretion and hence potassium excretion. Whenever there is a blockade of aldosterone feedback system, it impairs the control of the potassium concentration. In case of deficiency of aldosterone, as occurs in Addison's disease, there is a decrease in potassium secretion, and ECF potassium levels will rise. And whenever there is an increase in aldosterone secretion, as occurs in Conn's disease, there will be an increase in the potassium secretion and a decrease in the ECF potassium concentration, leading to hypokalemia. The last factor which increases the potassium secretion is the increased distal tubular flow rate. The flow rate of the distal tubule can rise by three factors again. Number one being volume expansion, number two being sodium increase in the sodium intake, and number three being diuretics. And this increase in flow rate of the distal tubules will cause an increase in the potassium secretion. And whenever the potassium intake increases, then the tubular flow rate also has a strong effect to stimulate the potassium secretion compared to when the potassium intake is low. The mechanism for the effect of higher tubular flow rate to increase the potassium secretion is that higher tubular flow rate basically maintains a driving force for potassium diffusion, and hence potassium secretion that increases. Whenever tubular flow rate increases, the secretion of potassium is continuously flushed down the tubule. So the rise in tubular potassium concentration that becomes minimized, and net potassium secretion is stimulated by the increased tubular flow rate. I have already talked about the fact that aldosterone stimulates potassium secretion by increasing the activity of the sodium potassium ATPase pump on the basolateral membrane, and number two, by increasing the permeability of the luminal membrane for potassium, which further increases the effectiveness of aldosterone in stimulating potassium secretion and hence excretion out of the cell. Whenever, for example, let me explain it this way, that when there is increase in sodium intake, two things will happen. Number one, there will be a decreased aldosterone secretion, and number two, by the virtue of increased GFR and decreased proximal tubular reabsorption of sodium, the distal tubular flow rate will increase, and the aldosterone decreasing would lead to decreased sodium potassium secretion, while the distal tubular flow rate would increase, leading to an increased potassium secretion, and so the net effect of the potassium secretion would remain unchanged. So as I have already explained that when sodium intake increases, two things will happen. Number one, it will lead to a decrease in aldosterone secretion, which would decrease the potassium secretion by the cortical collecting ducts, and number two, an increased sodium intake would lead to an increased GFR and a decreased proximal tubular sodium reabsorption, which both would lead to an increase in the distal tubular flow rate, and this would lead to an increase in potassium secretion. So basically the net effect of increased secretion and decreased secretion would be a unchanged potassium secretion. So this means that the effect of distal tubular flow rate is very important to maintain a normal potassium excretion whenever the intake of sodium changes. Acute acidosis decreases potassium secretion. Whenever there is acute acidosis, the mechanism of decreasing the potassium secretion is because it inhibits the activity of the sodium potassium ATPase pump, which in turn decreases the intracellular potassium concentration and obviously passive diffusion of potassium across the luminal membrane into the tubule. However, chronic acidosis, what it does is it increases potassium secretion, and in this case the sodium chloride and water reabsorption is decreased in the proximal tubule, and as a result more volume and sodium is delivered to the distal tubule, and this will lead to increased distal tubular flow rate, which will increase the potassium secretion.